When I first read the script, I didn't read it in one sitting because I got scared, so I stopped. And then I think mid read, my reps were like, Jeff is interested in meeting with you, so I said, let me go ahead and finish this scary script that scared me. And then I reached that turn, which is, Jessica's essentially her emotional arc of the story, where she's, in that nightmare sequence that I'm obsessed with, that I think we hopefully executed beautifully, and I was hooked. Probably, the sort of connection to me is I'm a mental health advocate, and I love these kind of big genre stories that tap into something universal, something that a lot of people, or a good swath of people, can really, really identify with. And childhood is not an innocent time. There was acknowledgement that there's a great mystery at the heart of childhood, and so much that we experience that we don't understand. And those experiences really turn into trauma, and Jessica experiences something very difficult very early in her life, and I think it's the heart of the story, and it's something that I really, really hope will resonate with a lot of people. She doesn't know yet. She's really refining and defining it over the course of our story. I think there's this beautiful thread that just breaks my heart, where she's really trying to figure out what love is. Like, she's terrified that she doesn't know. She's terrified she doesn't know how to love. She's terrified that she doesn't know how to receive it. She has this deep insecurity around family, that she doesn't feel like she knows how to be in a family. She's never been a part of a traditional kind of nuclear family. So in that respect, this experience, when we first meet her in this story, this is completely new. We know the superficial things about her. We know she's an illustrator. We know she's successful. She's published. But we don't know, because she's still figuring out who she is in the context of this new role of motherhood that she finds herself thrust in. Tegan is one of the loveliest human beings I've ever met. We're shooting her introduction, and I remember this moment where I was like, oh wow, you could feel underneath of Taylor in so many scenes. And so her sensitivity and her empathy and her vulnerability underneath of Taylor's veneer reads as like this depth of pain. That's how you receive it. So instead of it just being like, oh, she's kind of a bitchy teenager, you're like, oh, this is the girl who's hurting. This is the girl who's like trying to move through this major transition in her life, a move, a new stepmom, all these major, life transitions. And she does it with this degree of vulnerability that you might not get with another performer. Pyper was our first choice and kind of our only choice. We were praying every day that she would be, cleared from Nickelodeon, because, really she needs none of us. Like, Pyper is gonna be a CEO one day. She's gonna probably be directing herself. She's such a filmmaker. She is a true pro. I want everyone to see her audition tape, because it's just blew us away, not just her work and her emotional availability, but also her capacity of human understanding. Like, immediately after her audition, she goes, okay, let me shake it off. Jeff, can I tell you a joke? She has an awareness that many adult performers don't possess. I just want to work with her for the rest of my life. She's a remarkable young actress. Betty is so emotionally available. She takes what could be a very, like one note kind of role, and really like transmorphs it into this other beautiful thing. Like, you realize when you're watching her work and you're watching Jessica and Gloria's scenes together that Gloria was the only other person who was there and who actually has an emotional connection to what happened. And you only get that with, like truly phenomenal performers and ones who are open and willing and ready to receive, whether you're directing forthright or you're directing through performance. It's one of the rare times where I've met a director. We met over Zoom. You kind of have a very like fundamental, ABC conversation about your working styles. And I feel like I got him rather quickly. Like I feel like I understood him. We have a very similar approach, to work. It's very rigorous. It's very demanding. We both have high expectations, but also clearly believe in, kindness, and neither of us are tyrants. And yeah, I think Jeff is wonderful. I love his sense of humor. I think he appreciates that he can be as direct as he needs to be with me, and he doesn't have to like figure out how to say stuff. But he is a director who, knows how to speak to each individual actors. There's a real sensitivity, and I think this project, to be honest with you, probably required more vulnerability of him than he's probably experienced before. Like I felt that across the board with our crew, but I think something that was super important to me was building the kind of set environment that felt safe to tell a vulnerable story, and for everyone, including our director, to, be vulnerable himself. It's a safe place to acknowledge all the shadow parts of ourselves. It's a safe place to admit when you feel embarrassment or shame or fear or anger or pain. And that's what makes it special. It's you feel it, you get to feel it in the dark, Especially, and specifically psychological horror. It's one thing to watch a horror movie and it's, gory or, gross, and it's another thing to watch something where you're like, I have a fear of losing my mind too. I remember the first time I was back in the theater, after COVID. And I cried because I was like, oh, everyone here is experiencing the same moment at the same time. Everyone's gonna receive, something completely differently. It's like Taylor, for example, is kind of the voice of the audience in many ways. Like she gets to be the one who calls out anything that somebody might just be like, that's ridiculous. She literally gets to say like, this is crazy, And a lot of audience members are gonna really identify with her character. Younger viewers are gonna identify, with Alice. So we all walk into stories with our own. And it hits us in, distinct and indecipherable ways. And one thing I love is we don't create art in a vacuum. We're not art for art's sake people. We are people who understand what we're doing as storytellers as a communal experience, and we really invite the audience in to tell us what the story is and to tell us, what they walked away with, and that's it's a part of the fun. I had Teddy Ruxpin. I remember being very upset because I have an older brother, hey DeWayne, who threw him down the stairs one day. And when I tell you, there's this moment, there's an adjacent moment in our movie between Alice and Liam. And I was like, that was me. I was very protective over that teddy bear.